Welcome to another edition of the eSpot with Camille. The eSpot is your location for the latest in entertainment, beauty, and design from the people who make it. Thanks for joining. Hello. Welcome everyone to the eSpot with Camille. I am your host, Camille Cower, and I am super excited to have the one, the only, the magical Orlando Jones. I've had him on before, but this is way back when I had to share my airtime with other people. So now I get him all to myself and can ask all the questions and don't have to bring up any sports stuff because maybe it was part of a certain ESPN. But now it's just Camille in the entertainment spot. So we get to talk about all things entertainment. And the SAG after strikes. Thankfully, the WGA strike is over. So we can talk about a little bit about your writing past, because I think a lot of people don't know is that your career started way before we ever saw you on camera. So can we talk a little bit about how at like a teenager, you were already writing jokes for The Tonight Show. You were like doing all these commercials for Food Lion and all these other big names, or at least big names to us North Carolina people. Can you share a little bit about how at such a young age you had not only the dream, but the ability to follow that dream?
Oh, wow. How do these things happen? I don't know if it's a combination of life or luck. But yeah, I guess I've been writing for a long time. I met a guy who suggested, let me rephrase that. I was doing commercials in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. I lived in South Carolina at the time. And I got hired as a consultant because they were trying to target young Black kids. They were trying to get out the message about AIDS as a pandemic, and it was obviously wreaking havoc on the community. And so they were like, we got to find some young Black kid to talk to who can speak young Black kid, because apparently we don't speak the same language. And I I got hired for that job, and I pitched them a bunch of ideas, and they paid me what I thought was a lot of money at the time. And then I found myself looking at the production board a couple of months later, because I was in several of those ads, and I realized that I pitched them several $1 million worth of ad ideas that they had subsequently sold. And I was like, oh, that's how this works. And I had a family friend who was an attorney, and I went to him and explained what the scenario was, and he suggested I incorporate and start an advertising agency. So I did, and then that advertising agency became my path to getting a job on A Different World, and wrote The Pilot of Martin and Rock Live, and and since then I guess I've been in the writer's game, American Gods, blah blah blah, for now I guess over almost over 35 years, I guess. So that's kind of how I found myself in the realm. Was I got jacked, but not. Listen, they paid me really well. They they paid me $5,000. So I thought I was rich until I saw 6.7 million on the board, and then I was like, oh, okay. So my contribution got you that. Got it. Okay, I should probably incorporate and pitch it myself. So I did that, and that's where Food Lion and Furniture Fair and state of South Carolina did a bunch of stuff for, and that started my my advertising career. And then with that body of work, A Different World flew me out and interviewed me and hired me, and there you go.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to go, because you said The Different World and then Martin. You said it so quickly, like whoa. But how did that happen? So they flew you out for A Different World. How did you even get on their radar? Because that's the other part. Like a lot of times us people in small markets kind of feel like we're overlooked, underutilized. And I'm curious, how were you able to get part of the limelight, so to speak? Or
there were two casting people named Lieberman and Hirschfeld, and they were casting movies, in the South Carolina. They were, your local casting components, right? And I came in for an audition. I think it was for Swamp Thing or something, like some movie like that. And they liked me, and they were like, there'd be a lot of great stuff for you in LA, kid. And they sent me an audition for to play Barry Sobel's roommate on 227. And I think I was 18 or something like that. And I, got every light in the house and lit it and shot it, and they flew me out. and I knew like one or two people in LA, and I called them and said, "Hey, I'm in LA," and they said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm auditioning for this," and I did not get that job, but they said, "Hey, why don't you, because we saw you were doing this advertising stuff, why don't you write up a spec script? There's a new show called A Different World. They're going into season 4. They're hiring new writers. We want to put you up for consideration because we know you're a writer and performer." So I did that, and I didn't get the 227 job, but I got the A Different World job. And so I packed up all my stuff and moved to Los Angeles and started writing sitcoms, and that's how I entered the Hollywood business, as it were. And then obviously being behind the scenes as a writer, you know where all the bodies are buried because you learn everything.
Yeah, so share a little bit of that. Like since you bringing it up, you know where all the bodies are buried. What is some advice you would give to maybe somebody who's thinking about packing it up and moving on to LA, especially now that hopefully the strike is getting ready to end soon, and they're thinking, oh, there's going to be tons of opportunity because there's so many different projects that have been put on hold that might now be open, and everybody's looking for work again.
But in what capacity, I guess, is the question.
I guess here's the thing: writing, acting, all of it. Well, I know you've said so many times like it's important to know all aspects of filmmaking, really stay busy and working like you have for 35 plus years. So, what elements would you say were the most, I guess, for longevity? Which oh, see, he's busy all the time.
I don't know who that is. I don't know. I'm not talking to that.
It's probably calling about your car warranty and lucked out. No, seriously.
That is another producer calling about a movie in Italy. That's what he's talking about. But that's a whole nother thing right now. I think the best answer is this. Look, I think if you can tell your story, I think you should tell it. But I don't know that Hollywood is the answer. The Hollywood I went into is a whole nother thing. It's not the same place anymore, right? I tell people all the time that you've got a broadcaster capture device in your hand. So I don't know what you need them for exactly. If you can build an audience wherever you are, I tell people all the time, you need 10,000 hardcore fans who are there for you. And there's a dozen different ways to transact with those fans. But in short term, if you had 10,000 fans who are willing to give you $20 every quarter, there are 4 quarters in the year, that's $80 a year. Let's say, no, they're only going to give you $40 a year. That's a $400,000 a year business direct to your pocket. So your only barrier to entry is what they're charging you, right? So if you want to make a movie, I have friends that make movies for between $40 and $100,000. They put them up on fast channels like Tubi and Pluto and Zumo and IMDb TV. And people joke about that, but those people make around $40,000 a month off those movies. So, with a $250,000 profit plus rolled into your pocket off of this movie that you done in a local market, I ask again, what do you need Hollywood for? So I'm not sure, right? Hollywood is a very different game, and you're likely not going to play in the top parts of that game when you first arrive there, simply because you don't know what to do yet. You don't have enough experience, right? So there's something to be said for maximizing local and regional opportunities before you throw yourself into that mix. So you might very well be invited like I was, but I was invited because I had stuff to show that I was doing in the Carolinas, right?
Right.
So I didn't show up and go, hey, I was like, watch this, watch that. And they were like, oh, okay, kid. So it was because I was doing stuff here that opened the door there, not because I showed up there with hat in hand, asking them to validate me as a writer producer. I'd already validated myself. So I encourage people to do that before thinking you're going to land there and, write on Game of Thrones. Probably not.
Yeah, that would be a dream come true for many, I'm sure. But obviously, we're sad at the way that season ended, so we're not going to go there again. I'm still hurt. Speaking of that, triggered. But
I mean, I give them credit. They had the best breast to beheadings ratio in television. Like every 2 minutes, someone either got beheaded or they showed you breasts. So I get why the show worked, you know.
oh yeah, I remember a friend of mine saying, "Why do you watch that porn?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? It's a great show." And once you introduce your parents to it, and your parents are like, "Oh yeah, I started watching that Game of Thrones," and you start thinking back, like, "Oh wow, I really recommended this to them." Thanksgiving's going to be awkward.
I mean, they got to get over it, right? You know, like they got to just get over certain parts. Like they have the body parts, but we can't see them. So you know,
yeah. I mean, TV is a different animal nowadays, or just filming different. I talk about this a lot with some of my girlfriends, where it's like it used to be that it was so taboo just to even have the blanket just show a little nipple here and there, and now you're like full on fledged. There's no one that we haven't seen nude. I mean, I don't know if you're planning to show some nudity up in your future too, but it's a lot of things out there now that they're changing, and with AI, like that being a big part of why people are striking from a writer's perspective and from an actor's perspective. Are you scared of losing who you are in part of that with
no.
I mean, that's the contracts they're working on now. No, okay.
No. Look, you're not going to put certain the toothpaste isn't going back in the tube, right?
Right.
So if you want to go dig with the shovel and a pick, you know, knock yourself out. But the tractor is going to do it faster. And the 3D printer, you know, is going to do it even faster.
And we lost him for a minute. I'm sure he'll be back. We were just discussing how AI can have that, like, what is it for him that he sees it's going to change? And, you know, it's a lot like having when calculators first were invented, or computers, where it's a tool that can be used for good or bad. But I'm curious what he thinks about it, coming from a writer, coming from a producer's perspective, as well as an actor's perspective. And he's back with us, so we can talk a little bit more about.
I don't know what happened there. I don't think that we should be mad at technological tools. Right? There's no point in that, because it's not going to change, right? I'm sure somebody with a horse and carriage was mad as hell about that car. My great grandmother used to call it a runaway carriage. Ooh, look at that runaway carriage. So you know what I mean. So I'm not gonna waste my time being mad about technology. But I point this out to you on the AI side. The AI is a great tool if you want to use it, right? And I'm sure what's going to happen without question is that it's going to be less of everybody needed to do the job. Less electricians, less set building, less gaffers. Virtual set technology is going to replace those things. Less drivers, less everybody, right? Less background. It's just going to be less of everyone necessary to do the job, right? So that's where we are, but that's not a phenomenon that is exclusive to the entertainment business. That's just workforce, you know, writ large, as it were. So I encourage people to learn the tools and learn how to use the tools to their benefit, rather than demonizing the tool that's not going anywhere ever. So in my humble opinion, I'm not concerned about that. There's only one me, and even an AI version of me still doesn't have my capacity, because it's not intelligent. It's machine learning. Machine learning is not intelligent. There are things it does extremely well, right? Research, it can cut all that. It can kill my time on having to research or figure this out. It can kill my time with needing the basic summaries about A or B. But replace me? Not necessarily. Not really possible in the way that people fear. So.
Right. Because I mean, one of the things I was thinking of with the fear of AI was I got my start as a background actor, and just showing up to jobs, and finally got the opportunity to be a featured extra. And then finally, so when I heard that they were talking about possibly duplicating an actor's image and just using that as opposed to hiring an extra every time, I was like, wait, then how are they ever going to get those opportunities like I got to be able to get in the union in the first place? But right, sometimes it is inevitable that with technology, it's just going to make things need less people.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it created a particular balance, right? On one end, you might not have the same extra opportunity. On the other end, your opportunities on YouTube and fast channels is exponential, where you never had that opportunity before. Even your opportunities on a Facebook or Instagram, or platforms like Vine that came and went. Like, I know guys who were on Vine who are now on television shows. Right. Or they are influencers on Instagram and they make their money this way or that way. But that opportunity wasn't available to them being background, right? So the opportunities are different. Technology shifted some things around, but it's not like there's no opportunity, because you make way more money in digital, even with a podcast, than you ever would as background. I'm sure you know this. Background is $50, $75, 12 hours, bye.
It's not just a hot dog and a brownie.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, a 2-hour podcast is far less time than 12 hours on set. It's going to make you way more money than being background. So yeah, that door closed, this door open, circle of life, Hakuna Matata and all that.
No, another great points by Mr. Orlando Jones. I guess he does know a little something about evolution and evolving with time.
Well done.
I'm trying. I have to work around it. In movie quotes, this is very difficult for me, and I'm ADHD and dyslexic. So AI has been very helpful for someone like myself with doing the things I can't do. Right. Like a normal person can, as far as like just structuring a sentence without it being backwards. But speaking of backwards, not really backwards, but a nice little segue to, you have so many different careers, and we haven't even talked about the one that is the most hysterical, I guess is a good segue to it. But you have a great comedy show that you're getting ready to film right here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yep.
It's been a long time since you've done a comedy special that we can watch. So tell me a little bit about the excitement behind starting this.
Listen, I mean, I've been on stage a lot because I think I spent 2022 and 2023 out touring and stuff and having fun. Look, it's always fun. It's the last bastion of free speech. It's the only place where you can actually just say whatever the hell you want to say. And I try to point out with people, I don't give offense. That's not how it works. You take offense. You see, you don't include me in the decision-making process. I threw jackass in the air. You claimed it as your own. I wasn't talking to you, jackass. I was just talking. See, yeah. I love it. It's really fun. It's been fun to sort of meet and find new comedians in the area who've been trying to get their break and, give them sort of more stage time, which is often dope that you'll see that. It's just also just fun to be on stage, and the world is a crazy place right now. So there's plenty to talk about.
A lot. Like a certain person just going to court today, as a matter of fact, the cult 45 of it all. And
45. Yeah, 45 is a piece of work right there. So I've known 45 since he was in New York running around with rappers.
Like, he went from thug life to cult. I don't know how he made that transition so quickly, but
Steve Bannon.
It's like the Kelchi thing. Like, they come hang out with us first, all hanging, I guess that's his name, Kelsey. I don't know, the Taylor Swift guy. Like, he hangs out with us, cool folks, and then next thing you know, they switch over to the MAGA side. Not saying Taylor Swift is MAGA, because we all know she's not. But it's funny how they make that transition where they start off maybe on UPN, and then next thing you know, they make it to the Warner Brother network.
Yeah. Look,
hey,
look,
your money.
Freedom of speech, right? You you are entitled to attempt to oppress whoever you like. You're entitled to it in America. It's so, but from my perspective, you got to appreciate that. For years, I would see Trump chasing behind Russell Simmons and rappers, right? You like clout chasing, like you read about, like really trying to be in the mix, right? You got to understand. So when I saw him on the campaign trail, I was laughing hysterically, right? Because I knew him when he was a Democrat.
Yeah.
And he was a hardcore Democrat, So hanging out with all the Democrats, right? So, in the Hollywood of it all, you get to see everything. So it is hilarious to me because he don't believe what he said. He's just talking. That's not what he thinks at all. That's just what he's saying And now he feels like he's bulletproof because he got his cult going, so it don't matter what he say. But you know what he thinks, like listen, nobody trash talks poor people like him, which is why I never liked him. Because you know I wasn't born with no silver spoon in my mouth, so hearing dude talk all crazy was like, what? Why are y'all hanging out with this dude? Like, not my cup of tea. So the fact that he is flipped, I've watched him be so many different hymns, right?
Yeah.
So, but I always knew that his businesses were failing, and he got his money from the government. We always knew that, right? So now it's hilarious to see him be indicted for his businesses practices. Yay, teach his own, man. What I'm gonna say.
Look, I don't want to. Don't call me about it. Y'all voted for him. Handle it. Good luck with all.
You're allowed to support whoever you want to support. Like, that's my whole thing. Is look, if America's America, you got every right to have your freedom of speech. The problem is that as soon as I say something you don't like, you offended. Well, I didn't give you offense. You took it. You see? You took it. You didn't include me in the decision-making process.
So I noticed on the flyer that there's like 9 different comedians. So when you're talking about playing it forward or bringing people to the table, it's like you're doing the walk and the talk. So what do you think? Like when you're out on the road, how do you find these young comedians to come work with you?
My producer, Karen Tunis, is look, I lose track of how many foster kids she has had. Okay, 17, 20.
She's doing the Lord's work, and
Lord knows I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
But like so many other Black women, she gonna try and save us all. Okay.
Okay.
Y'all are the mother. You crawled out of the sludge and created Homo sapiens, and you're still trying to save us. So during the pandemic, we started working with a group called Oops Foundation down in Wilmington that was providing, optimistic opportunities for people who were struggling. And we took a Black-owned grocery store down there, and we flipped that bodega into a little comedy situation, and we started streaming. And then we went over to a loft and we started doing an improv over there, and people started coming in from Fayetteville and here and there when I'm out playing, Funny Bones improvs or doing my show at Gotham in New York, because I think I was up there doing a residency pretty much twice a month. I just wanted to put people on the stage who didn't have the opportunity to get on a bigger stage, right? And along the way, I met a whole lot of funny ladies and a couple of really funny guys, and all from very different walks of life, and getting a chance to put them on stage is always fun. They're funny, right? They deserve it, and if I'm going to headline a show and come out, I feel like it's really fun to put up some other artists. So it's not just comedians on that flyer. Nazzy the Mike is actually an artist. She's a dope rapper. Dope. True Spit is actually spoken word. She does spoken word and comedy kind of together, but she's really a spoken word artist. And so for me, Kristen Brooks, Dallas Brown Jr. literally was a school teacher, a heralded and award-winning and decorated school teacher in New Hanover County, North Carolina, for over 25 years. That's what he did, right? And his students have been telling him for over 25, you should be, Mr. Brown, you hilarious. Mr. Brown, you should do comedy, right? So I met Mr. Brown and I thought, you know what, your students are right. You really, he's a funny guy, right? But he spent his life educating kids, right? So for me, meeting those types of people, different walks of life, getting the opportunity to put them on stage, particularly women people like Black female comedians don't exist. Well, they do, and a lot of them are mad funny. It's a perspective you haven't heard before. So if we really care about the upliftment and an enrichment of different people and giving and diversity, right? We talk about these buzzwords. I don't care so much about that as much as I care about, if you don't give that person a stage to tell their point of view, then you are left to think that you know what their point of view is, and you don't. but giving them the opportunity, not me trying to tell a story for them, because I'm not them telling their own stories is how you go, well, that's funny. And laughter has a way of bringing people together. So my comedy shows are really about one thing. I want, in this venue, 300-400 people, sometimes it's 3,000-4,000 people to walk in. Y'all might not know each other, but I want you to leave realizing we're all connected, right? You ain't really got no enemies. That whole Democrat, Republican, that's all nonsense. We can agree to disagree on that. But don't nobody want their kids jacked up. And everybody got a racist they love or a homophobe they love. Everybody got a bigot. Somebody prejudiced something that they love in their family, but you don't know them like that. You know them as this person who loved you and took care of you and blah, blah, blah. That's not the person you know, right? And you don't want nothing to happen to them despite their antiquated views. So we all have these things. So I don't know why everybody acting like they hate racists. I love racists. Ain't nothing wrong with racists. I know some racists and bigots in my family. Yeah, actually, yes. I have white folk in the family. Racist. But they're not. Here's my other thing. I'm just gonna say this and get out of the way. All right. Racism has been misdefined, unfortunately. Racism doesn't mean you're a bad person. That's not what it means. There are plenty of people who receive the benefit of race who are lovely people. The abolitionists receive the benefit of race. But that don't mean they bad people. Race doesn't mean call somebody a racist. People that, it's horrible. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. That's a benefit you get, whether you like it or not, right? And it's all twisted up because now you say it and people feel attacked and they want to fight back. That's why I say I love racists, because at the end of the day, that's not what it's about. The question is, are you a jackass? Are you a horrible? That's the question. For real. So you might get the benefit. I don't get the benefit. You don't get the benefit, right? I get the demerit, right? You might get the benefit, but that don't mean you're a bad person. Right. So you might get the benefit and be trying to help people all the time. So what's up with that, right? Or you might get the benefit and then you try and exclude people and try and act like the benefit makes you better. Well, you an asshole. See, that's your problem right there. So I just feel like they've misdefined the term to mean something it don't mean. So now everybody's confused when they hear it.
Agreed. But I also want to talk about a little bit about the sense of, you have the right to say whatever you want to say. You can be racist, anti-racist, or benefit from racism.
Whatever.
There's still the accountability. And I think sometimes with comedians, the accountability is the part where people get canceled, or sometimes when they say things or they're doing things other than just the general making jokes about it, but actually living against those jokes. Or is that the right?
I know what you mean, but let me put it to you like this. Don Imus, I remember back in the day, got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
But did nobody take into account that, the horrible white man had been helping, women and children of color and women of color for the better part of 20 years. And he made one reference and everybody said, he's a bad person, but his actions didn't match that. Mm-hmm. So he probably never should have been canceled, right? And if what we're going to do is cancel each other for words, we're going to have a long because everybody, and also there's plenty of stuff you say when you're little, you don't know what you're saying until you learn better, right? There's plenty of stuff you say when you're young, you don't really understand the ramifications because you don't have enough breadth of knowledge. You haven't met enough people. You don't have enough frames of reference, right? But so there's no room for folks to grow now. I mean, you make one mistake and that's just not real. Life is never really going to be that way. I'm not trying to cancel people because of words. Frankly, I don't care. Okay, just me personally. You can care if you care. I don't need to care. I'm good. I tend to want to look more at the whole thing. And also, I'm not trying to get rid of people just because they did the wrong thing, because I know there's somebody who loves that person. So I'd much rather look at it the way it really is, which is, well, let's see if we can help them through. And if we can't help them through, then, go with God. But, but let them live their life. I don't know why they got to agree with me. Well, who am I? I mean, let them be them. I don't, just me personally. But I also understand that's a double standard. And, when I say stuff, they didn't try to cancel me many times. I've had attempted canceling on 3 different occasions, okay, and I ain't done nothing to nobody.
You're well hidden in that case.
Well, what happened is that they got people rolled over it, right? Because plenty of people knew that wasn't true,
Right.
So I had the fortunate groupings of fans who were just like, nah, 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 nah. And that's really what happened, to be honest with you. Otherwise, it would have caught and stuck, right? But I had a history that kind of wiped it away because people were like, I can point to this, and this, and that ain't who that dude is. And that was always a saving grace for me. But it didn't mean it wasn't attempted, you know. I got banned from the Super Bowl for Make 7 Up Yours.
That's right. Now, I mean, granted, I'm sure they would allow you back anytime you wanted now because you're not still banned, are you? No.
No. It was just they banned the commercial. It wasn't me because they said the commercial was offensive. Look, they had Katie Couric on television talking about it was offensive and kids were getting thrown out of school and, you know, and it was my fault because I was the one that wrote the campaign and did the T-shirt and, you know, was what I was doing, was it rude? I mean, is it nasty? I mean, should they be able to say this? I mean, people was clutching pearls on me like left and right. I was like, oh, y'all kiss my ass. This is a joke.
Oh, it's kind of funny now because my husband works for UPS. Their shirt was pay up. And when I didn't even think of it, the 7-Up reference, but when I told him I was going to have you on the show, he was like, oh yeah, the 7-Up guy. And I'm like, the 7-Up guy? And when I Googled, I was like, oh yeah, totally forgot about your 7-Up days. But yeah, the pay up shirt now I think of say it 7-Up.
Yeah. Listen, I think it's so awesome that I could have wrote something on a napkin 23, 24 years ago and people still remember it. But you know, I never know what I'm gonna get. It's something different all the time. It's Office Space or it's Replacements, a Double Take, or American Gods, a Sleepy Hollow. People all over the place. Mad TV, like I have no understanding of what I'm gonna get. I really do. I had just somebody the other day lose their mind about Good Lord Bird, and then his wife didn't know what that was because she wanted to talk about, oh gosh, what was it? It was something that I'd never expected her to see. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Raven's Home.
That's pretty funny.
I mean, she wanted to have an in-depth conversation about Raven's Home, and he was trying to talk about the Rail Man from Good Lord Bird. And I was like, how are you two even together? Like,
and the funny thing is, like, I don't even think of you as being on Raven's Home. I'm thinking of the other Orlando that was on Raven's Home.
Brown.
Yeah. So that's
this year, Raven's Home, the season finale, I play an Italian designer. So I'm sure they have kids and they were watching Disney Plus and there it was. And I said, oh, okay. And then I turn around and the next person wanted to talk about Abbott Elementary. Yeah. And I tried to point out to him that I was not Tyler James Williams. And
everybody hates Chris. Yeah.
yeah. And here's the complication. Because I'm on Abbott Elementary and because I was on Everybody Hates Chris, I can't say I wasn't on the show.
Right.
So they get confused. They're like, no, that is you. No, that is you.
That's one of the bad things about Black Not Crapping. It was like, you're the adult in that same show.
I'm like, no, I am not, sir.
It was so genius that they had you play his father in a show we're not talking about. But I thought it was so genius that they finally paired you as his dad because you guys do. Not that all Black people look alike, but I can. Yeah.
Listen, according to y'all, I look like everybody, so I just go with it. I go with it because I can't no more. Listen, I was never in Joanna Man. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. Okay.
Funny thing was, I was, so I would have saw you there. But they think you look like Miguel Nunez. That's hilarious.
It's somebody different all the time. Listen, according to the internet, me and Solange Knowles was separated at birth. That's what the internet say.
Huh. I remember on your website, because I went to your website, orlandojones.com, and it's like you made it to the end of the internet, and these are all the people that I'm not, and Knowles and all these other people, and I use that as your bio because I thought that's hilarious, and I love the fact that you can laugh at the fact that people, obviously a lot of people have confused you with all these different actors, and I mean, because your career is so long.
My favorite person to make fun of is me. That's why come I don't care about nobody else, because I shoot at me on a regular basis. Right? I enjoy shooting at me. I think it's funny.
I mean, you're the expert at it. Why not?
Hey, I mean, if you hold on, something wrong with you if all you're gonna do is make fun of somebody else, but you ain't got nothing to say about you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about that, pimp. So I would much rather clown me, and then if you get clowned in the interim, well, that just happened. You know what I'm saying? But most of my shots I try and take at me.
And like you said, unless you got offended, right? You didn't give it to them; they had to take it. So
you took that. I ain't get that to you.
Yep, I get it. So again, everyone, make sure that you check out Orlando Jones. Will be in Raleigh, North Carolina, October 29th at, it's not Charlie Goodnights anymore. I keep wanting to say Charlie Goodnights, but Goodnights Comedy Club. Charlie got next out. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know what happened to Charlie.
Looking at the flyer to make sure there's nobody on here named Charlie. No, Lily will close as it gets.
Exactly.
Well, I'm excited to see this show, especially since you were talking about Mr. Brown being a teacher, and I'm like, if you can get teenagers to laugh on a regular basis.
Oh, he's hilarious. This is the part where I knew he was in the wrong profession. I met these two young white kids, the most gangster rappers you have ever heard, and they got lyrics. Like they got bars. I'm not hating. Yeah. But when I met them, they was telling me about, Mr. Brown, you don't even understand like how Mr. Brown encouraged us, Mr. Brown did this, Mr. Brown did that. And I kept looking at them like, who is these two white boys? Mr. Brown, what is happening right now? And then a couple other little brown kids showed up, and then a couple of Asian kids showed up. And I thought to myself, this is crazy. There's a little rainbow coalition of kids all in love with this old man who encouraged them and frankly, apparently in ways that other people didn't.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, look at this cat. This is kind of crazy. So, it goes to show you never know where the inspiration comes from. So
opportunities. And it's great that they were all saying his names, because that's the part. Friends out there, make sure you're telling other people about your hidden talent friend, so they're not the best kept secret, because you never know when Mr. Brown could be your friend next door.
Hey.
Or whoever. So again, thank you so much for being on my show again. I can't wait.
My pleasure.
Once the strike is over, so we can talk more trash about a certain show that you used to be on, that you were writing for all the characters, especially the
I have no comment.
Characters.
I think I've said everything that could be said.
I mean, it's canceled now. That's what I was going to say. I mean, I've heard other things canceled.
Right.
So, needless to say, we don't mess with this God. So Mr. Orlando Jones, make sure everyone checks out your Instagram as well as your anywhere else they need to check out to keep up with.
Yeah, listen, shows. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I mess around with the older platforms a little bit here and there. Facebook and what the like. But honestly, I've been really kind of off social media for a minute, just because I've been writing and working. So I'm going to re-engage now and start back at going to cons and all that. I'm going to come back out of my shell, just because I feel like it's about that time. I'm come back out of hibernation. So yeah, check me on all platforms. I'm always around. Holla at your boy.
Perfect. Good, because I saw something about a spa con coming up, some other con.
Yeah, I just did spa con. It was incredible, actually. Yeah, a lot of fun at spa con. Yeah, in Arkansas. So more stuff coming.
Oh, I know GalaxyCon's here in Raleigh, so of course I'm going to do a push for that.
When is GalaxyCon?
It's usually in July, the end of July. It's usually like the last weekend in July, at least in Raleigh, because they also have one in Columbus and maybe Dallas, maybe.
Oh, word? How come GalaxyCon ain't hollered at your boy? I don't understand what's going on. I'm going to
put it in the thingy-mabob, because they always ask for suggestions, so I'm going to make sure.
Tell them to holler at me. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm already here. I may as well come out.
Like, I wasn't going to put your location out there, but I had heard that a certain person had left New Hanover and came on down to Wake County, so we can also appreciate you voting early.
Oh yeah, I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm just as mad as the students at University of North Carolina. I'm like, how come y'all can't get this situation right? What's going on? Keep these kids safe. What's wrong with y'all?
I mean, ever since Sandy Hook, we kind of have seen that they were not really doing anything about gun violence. But at this point, those kids are now adults and can vote. And so they're making a point of saying, hey, when is this going to change? So I'm really glad that we have you here, because we have a very crazy lieutenant governor that's trying to become governor that is anti-Semitic, anti-Hollywood, anti-everything great, basically. And
well, he already cost this state enough money running productions out of it. And, you know, you look at, I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Look at all of the businesses you hurt. Look at all the restaurants you hurt. Look at all the, you know, the lodging places you hurt. You know, look at all the revenue you snatched out of people's pockets. And the people whose pockets you hurt did not fall into this narrow category. You hurt plenty of what? Look, I'm a black neck. Okay, you hurt black necks. You hurt rednecks. You hurt the Asian necks and Indian necks. You hurt all of our necks with your foolishness. Now, if you want to believe that. But leave our pockets alone. Let us flourish. Let us have a good time together. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, stop interrupting our money flow just because you don't understand it.
Because you hold on, listen. Vote. These folks is ignorant. Vote, yeah. Lord, vote, please. They ignorant as the day is long. And let me be clear. I was one of those people who was like, who was not interested in voting for a very long time. I was like, what's the point? And the point is really, really clear now. At the end of the day,
what made you make that change? Because I think a lot of times, like, we don't. Because I've been involved in politics since before I could vote, because my parents were so like, my dad was part of SNCC, so he like, he taught me at a very young age, I have to vote, I have to make other people vote, and then like my different uncles were like running for board of education and stuff. I was out there getting out flyers at a very young age. So what was it for you that made you decide, okay, it's time for me to get involved?
Look, during Obama's campaign, it was really clear to me that digital had presented a new opportunity for you to connect with audience in different ways. And particularly, you configure what you want to hear now, right? There's no such thing as mass news anymore. You program what's important to you. So everybody's in an echo chamber, right? If you want to do the Fox News Breitbart thing, that's all you hear. If you want to do the MSNBC thing or the NPR thing or whatever it is, that's all you hear. I listen to all of it, right? Because I don't want to be in a bubble and only hear people who think like I do. Diversity of thought is important to help developing ideas. Once I realized that we are all in a self-imposed digital echo chamber, it becomes important to engage and vote, because people in the echo chamber aren't listening to anyone else. So it's hard for them to move forward. It doesn't matter which side they're on. You know, I mean, you can be Democrat, Republican, Independent, you know, Tea Party, Sweet Tea Party. It don't matter. Whatever group you're a part of, you know, Nazi, neo-Nazi, whatever you group, you know, but you're in a bubble, right? Because you're not hearing anybody else. And I'm an actor, writer. My whole job is listening. My whole job is hearing and responding authentically. So in order for me to do that job, I got to keep my ears open and hear everybody. So that's why I think it's important for me to vote, because I need to hear what all this is saying. Oh, okay, y'all's is crazy because you don't think anyone else's opinion other than your own is important. I have my opinion, but it don't mean it's more important than yours. You see what I'm saying? So for me, if I'm listening to a person who doesn't care about diversity of opinion, well, then I'm not interested in dealing with you, because all you're going to do is try and shut down anybody who you don't like. I need somebody who realizes that you're entitled to your belief system, and I'm not going to try and hurt your pockets, and I'm going to try and help you and anybody who does or doesn't look like you get where you need to go. That really is what we're supposed to do as a society. We're supposed to lift each other up to get where we're trying to go. We ain't supposed to tear each other down and try and keep each other down, but, you know, that's what people who want to profit off of other people want to do. And they want to do that by keeping us divided. So as long as we keep fighting with one another, that's the game. So again, for me, anyway, I think it's, you know, important to vote to maintain a system of government that believes in diversity of opinion and diversity of thought. So otherwise, we're truly in fascism.
Okay, so Mr. Orlando Jones for president in 2024. I got the announcement first. That's what the DAD stands for. Mr. Dad is getting ready to run.
You know what? I would rather be. I would rather be mayor, or I would rather work in a local environment where I can really help the people in my immediate community than I would like to be on some crazy scale. Like, I might get the whole senator thing and all that, but the president ain't got no power.
No, not right now. Oh no.
You know what I mean? I mean, really, I'm not for real. So I would much rather. I got to get stuff done. I'm not interested in the bureaucracy and blah 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 blah. That's great for y'all, and then knock yourself out. But I'm more interested in my rednecks and my black necks and my Asian necks and my LGBTQ plus. In fact, I think LGBTQ is all messed up. That's the wrong title. It should be semen receptive and semen deniers. That's what it should be. My mama was semen receptive. I love people who are semen receptive. I happen to be a semen denier. Why you hating? So these categories is all wrong.
I was totally willing to volunteer my campaign services for you, but I don't know if with me being dyslexic, if that would be a good risk for me to say semen deprior or receiver.
The semen receptive and semen deniers is one of the two. You can be a denier. Ain't nothing wrong with deniers. Ain't nothing wrong with receptive. Pick your side. Well, I love both.
Yeah, well, but I'm on agreement. Like some of these letters, who came up with this? Like the BIPOC. Like I did not okay that term, but I'm here living with it. But yeah,
I didn't okay African American because most black folk don't know nothing about Africa. So I was like, how did we get here? And how do you know they're not from somewhere other than Africa? There's islands, there's Jamaica, there's South America. I mean, there's a whole lot of brown folk. Egypt, I don't know what you're talking about. And all of us have people in our family who look like they're not, who could easily pass. So I don't even know.
Very valid point. I remember
this whole crazy colorism is insane. They act like, oh, it's a white person. I don't know about that.
Right.
My great grandmama looked like she could have been a white lady. Okay. She was black as the day is long. So I don't even know what to tell you about that. So
she was racially ambiguous now.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's only ambiguous because you don't know enough about your history to know people come in all different shades. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, in the casting perspective, she could be racially ambiguous and play all.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, of course.
And you can as well because you have a racially ambiguous grandmother. Like, oh, I could be Afro-Latina. I could play them all.
Listen, Latinos are black. What are we talking about?
No.
You got the ones that are light. You got the ones that are dark. Ada Rodriguez goes on about this all the time because the guy who set up the legal fund for the NAACP and really laid the foundations for its power today is a blue-eyed, blonde-haired black man who refused to disavow his immediate family who did not look like him. Mm. So what are we talking about here? W.B. Du Bois was super light-skinned. What are we talking about here?
Hey.
This is ludicrous.
More opportunities for black folk. I'm okay with it. Claim whatever you want. Check all the boxes because I know they're doing it on the opposite side. Get every job you can. I had Giancarlo Esposito on, and he was talking about he's actually half Italian, but they all assume he's half Hispanic. So he plays all these Afro-Latino roles. So he had to learn Spanish just for that case. So I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody passed for what you can. So
he's a Latin Italian black man. That's what he is. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. He simply does not fit into the box you want him to fit into. But that box is fake. It doesn't even exist
outside of America. Nobody does it.
It doesn't exist anywhere. At the end of the day, anybody who got any sense knows that that's, I mean, look, it's very simple. 97% of every human on the planet has DNA markers that came from a black woman. The first creatures to crawl out of the sludge is Homo sapiens. So what are we talking about? If that's the case, you're all related to this black lady because that's the way DNA works. So, I mean, I don't, Trump might not want to believe that, but that's the truth. I mean, that's, I mean, I know Mitch McConnell might go to his grave saying otherwise, but, not necessarily true there, my friends. In fact, the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan might have sickle cell next week. I can't help. I can't.
Genetics comes out in different ways.
Hey, man. Hey, but look, this is a country that's certainly made a lot of money off of dehumanizing other groups of folks, right? Be it by gender or by race. So I have 2 little girls, and never on my watch, homie. So
I'm so glad you're here to help vote for that, because we need all our rights back, because it's not fair that your wife has more rights at her at the same age your kids are now. So
don't even start me. Listen, I'm
already did.
He said, I'm a single daddy. That ain't my game.
Yeah, well, needless to say,
I'm in a war with 2 little girls.
Yeah.
That are my heart and soul. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't care what nobody thinks. I'm not rational about them. Please don't expect me to be. I'm not. I don't care. They're amazing. And other people agree with me that they're amazing. So I know I'm right.
Just daddy. Yeah. Clearly. Well, again, thank you again for being a guest. Again, I appreciate it. I can't wait to meet you October 29th at I'd say Charlie's again at Good Nights. We'll meet over there. You can have a wonderful night. Make sure you guys get your tickets, because you're going to hear about it if you're not be about it, or you can watch it later on one of these networks that we're not allowed to talk about until after.
Actually, I think you can talk about King Network TV. We're going to stream over Roku. So, King Network TV streaming over Roku and Apple devices. The show will be live there. And, of course, you'll be able to go out and watch. But it's going to be a fire show, seriously. Music, spoken word, comedy, good food, good drinks. You better bring your ass on out here, wear tight pants, because you might laugh your ass off. I would do that.
So don't meet him there, beat him there. Okay. Well, thanks again, Mr. Jones. It was such a pleasure to have you on. And thanks everyone for out there for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and make sure you keep up with Mr. Jones, because he's got a lot going on. All right. Thanks again.
Come on. Thank you, Camille.